Jerry Lynn and Mikey Whipwreck. Now, let's welcome your host, Mike Freland.
Welcome to another episode of FSN. That is Future Stars Now. My name is Mike Freland, soon to be joined by my broadcast partner. He is the Ritt. We hope everyone is having a good Thursday, and we do appreciate you tuning in, whether that be on Twitter or Twitch or however many other locations we are streaming on. That I'm not 100% sure of, but we're glad that you're here. Good show we have for you tonight. Great wrestling star that we are going to be spotlighting tonight from the Chicago area, one of my favorite places, actually. My wife's family is from that area, so I know it very, very well. And very excited to go ahead and talk to this young lady and find out everything that is about her wrestling career. But before we go any further, I need to bring in my follically challenged friend. He is the Ritt. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Freeland? Nice 2 days break from you, and here we are again.
I know. My wife is on vacation, visiting her grandmother, so I am flying solo here in the house. So she did say one very important thing, that you are not allowed to corrupt me, and you are not allowed to get me into trouble into doing anything I shouldn't be doing. So
you think no garlic powder challenge?
No garlic powder. No, none of that. No cinnamon challenges, none of that. We all know that didn't go very well. But you're doing well, my friend?
Well, besides the laptop not turning on the iPad.
It looks good.
No, it's best I could be, man. Best I could be.
Well, I tell you what, that's all that can be asked for. So would you like to tell everybody who is on the program tonight?
Well, this here is one of Indie Star's top rising ladies.
Yes, I would concur.
Chicago. She is an amazing athlete. She is, are you ready, Freeland?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Missa Kate.
Oh, here she is. Missa Kate, how are you?
Hey, what an intro. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, we love talking to professional wrestlers, and you know what? We are glad that you were able to carve out some time for us, so thank you very much.
Of course, anytime. Thanks for having me.
And I want to first apologize. I told Mr. Freeland, I'm like, I wonder if I told her Eastern or Central, because I was like, is Chicago in Central? And he's like, yeah, they're an hour behind. I'm like, well, it looks like we're going to be doing the show at 9 then.
Yeah,
I should have asked. I need to get better at asking too, because it's happened to me in the past where I haven't asked or anything. Sorry, my roommate.
You're fine.
Hey, if they want to be on, come on.
Nah, she's good. She's good. No, so pretty much, yeah, I'm not good at asking that either, and then I always end up screwing myself over, so because of that.
You know what? The one thing I started to do when it came to like booking guests and whatnot, and I even send this in my text messages to people, like say there's a family barbecue going on, I'll text them back. I'll be like, so that's 3:00 p.m. EST, and they're all like, what? And I'm like, hey. Yeah. Just respond. So no, I get it. It's crazy because when you're in different time zones, sometimes you don't even think about it.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't. Like I remember when I went to Florida, I didn't realize it was an hour ahead, or like I didn't realize the time. Oh no, it wasn't Florida. I'm sorry, Indiana. Like I was at some part of Indiana that was an hour ahead for some reason. I'm like, dude, I'm one state over.
I know. It changes like that.
Yeah. But yeah.
One of those things. But it's so exciting because I was reading an article that was written by you, and it was, I'm trying to see who the journalist was here, but it was by Wrestling Plug Inc. And it was a few months ago, but it was so good because I got to know so much about you, I feel like, in such a quick snippet here. So you're in the Chicagoland area. I guess my first question, are you a Cubs fan or a White Sox fan?
Cubs. Forget about the White Sox.
Cubs. Whoa.
There's always a fist fight at a White Sox game for no reason. I'm like, you guys are on the same team.
Wow. The other thing I want to ask
Well,
you
not
is,
the team, but
have you ever been to the Chris Kindle Mart by any chance?
the what? The Chris Kindle bar?
It's the Chris Kindle Mart. It's the big, it's like the big German like Christmas festival that they have in Chicago.
No, I have not.
Okay. Yeah, I go up there with my family, so I'm not really a Chicagoan, but I feel like I visit enough to kind of call myself a pseudo relative of the Chicago area. So, but that's a great city.
Oh yeah, I love Chicago. It's like the best city ever.
So when it came to wrestling, I was reading this and I hear that you're a big fan of Lita.
Yeah.
I find it awesome.
Yeah.
So how did that all begin? And what was it about Lita that really kind of got you propelled into, wow, watching this individual really makes me want to do what she does? What was it about Lita?
So pretty much the reason that Lita, like she took to me, or I took to her so well, is because she was different. She wasn't your typical blonde bombshell that had like, no, I mean, yeah, she had her boobs out, obviously, but like, but she wasn't like the typical like blonde bombshell, like ditzy, like, yeah, like, no, she was getting in there with the guys, like she was doing flips, she was doing stuff that she had no fear.
Right.
And I was like, cool. I was like, it reminded me of me hanging out with my guy friends, because I would go and wrestle with them, like in the snow and stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, like I'd be the only girl wrestling with them, or like say we would play softball. And there's always like that cage above, like, or baseball, whatever you want to call it. There's like always that cage over it.
Right.
Yeah.
So like everyone would always pop up balls and they get stuck in the cage, and I'd be the person to go up in the cage and then pop it back out.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like never really scared or anything.
Well, I mean, it's perfect for a career in pro wrestling to have that no fear, and you're willing to kind of get in there and mix it up, especially with the guys. So what was that like when you first kind of let your family know that, because we've talked to a lot of wrestlers, and the conversation of telling their family that this is what you're going to do, or this is what you want to do, was kind of like, you got to dip a toe in the water first. You got to kind of get them ready for it. How was that kind of a conversation?
So it wasn't. Technically they didn't. Hold on a second. I don't think she knows I'm doing this. Give me 1 second.
It's just, to me, Ritt, I feel like that question is something that I feel like either some families are super, super supportive, and then some people are very, very nervous about it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So yeah, my family didn't know. For the first 6 months of me training, 5 to 6 months of me training, my mom and my stepdad, neither of them knew, because my whole thing is, so unfortunately I got injured in high school. I had to have 2 major surgeries on my knees. So ever since then, like my mom's always been like, be careful, like, super, super careful, all that stuff. So because of that, I was like, oh, she's definitely not going to take this wrestling thing well. So pretty much what I did is I went, the high school that I went to, they would always have like an independent wrestling company that came there in the gymnasium and whatnot. And then I know that they offered free training. Or not free training. Holy crap, I wish free training. They offered wrestling training. And I was just like, oh my God, I could do it. Because obviously I didn't know anything about the independent scene. I didn't know anything about the indies. I was just like, it's either WWE, Impact, or like whatever else was at the current time. Or TNA, it wasn't even Impact at the time, I think. So because of that, I thought that was the only way there. So I was just like, I'm just going to play a lot of sports, and then I'll just do a tryout or something, and then maybe something will happen. But yeah, so CSW is where I originally changed, Chicago Style Wrestling. And for like the first 5 to 6 months, I was hitting the ropes, taking bumps, all that stuff. I'm getting all these bruises and everything on me, right? Now I got to hide this from my parents because they don't know that I'm training. So that was not fun. I remember getting used to like, because you're training your body to go against all of its instincts.
Right.
And because of that, you're doing new things with and your body gets stiff really quick. So I remember specifically one day that I came out of my bedroom and my mom was going to talk to me or whatever. And I remember like my neck was like super stiff like that. I was like, well, I can't just turn to her like this. She's going to be like, what's wrong with your neck? So like, I was like in so much pain. I was like whatever it was. Yeah. I was just like, I sucked it up so bad. And then I like just turned my head and I was just like in my head, I was like, oh, that hurts so bad. But yeah, but eventually, a couple months later, I found out I was gonna make my debut match, maybe even a month later. And I was like, well, I gotta tell him now. So I wrote my mom like a letter because I was scared to tell her face to face. And I was just like, I want to be a pro wrestler. I'm gonna do training. Like she always knew I was a fan growing up. I was obsessed with John Cena. And Lita obviously, but mainly John Cena because I'm a girl. And I was like, oh, I'm the biggest crush on like everybody else. But yeah, so when I told her, she wasn't happy, but she was just kind of like whatever sort of thing. But another reason too I didn't want them to know was not even so much it was gonna be like a headache dealing with it, but I also wanted to do it myself first.
Yep.
And like, okay, is this actually what I want to do? Because how many
Right.
times do you hear people say like, oh, I wanted to be a wrestler and I tried it and I found out it wasn't for me. Like in my head, I always knew I was like, no matter what, I'm doing this, but it was just like, I just had to get over that like thought, thinking maybe like any kind of doubt that I had. And that was my only doubt, is that that was a possibility. So got through that, yada, 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 years later. Luckily my mom is like supportive and my stepdad's into it because he was a jock growing up. So like we'll joke around and he'll just like grab me and like he'll be like, shoot her and all this stuff. And joke around. And we'd like go into like a chaining like match or something like that. So my grandma's even been to one of my matches, and I remember looking at her in the match, and she, no matter what sport I've ever played, she always like holds her breath when she gets nervous. So like I know there's certain things that I would do, and I'd look over, and she's just like, her eyes are open. I could tell she's holding her breath. And then after like every match, my mom's pretty much like, nice. So you done yet? I was like, no, I'm barely getting started. What do you mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
So at what point did they find out, or maybe you didn't say anything? Hey, I've already been doing this for a while. Or did they ever ask the question like, wait a minute, you seem to be further along than just starting?
Yeah. So when I told them, so pretty much I started to them, and then a month and a half later, I had a debut match, and they were like, "Are you sure that's a long enough time?" and all that stuff. And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's plenty of time. What do you mean?" He wouldn't say to do it if I wouldn't be getting a debut match if I wasn't ready. It's my trainer, yada yada yada, all that fun stuff. I don't even know if they know to this day that I trained without them knowing.
Well,
But
they
yeah,
might
so
now.
like, yeah, well now they do, right?
Well, I mean, it's on the internet already too, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah. My mom hasn't questioned me about it yet. So when she finds out my mom's someone that's very much like she would text me or something and be like, so when were you gonna tell me about this? Well, maybe she doesn't know yet, hopefully. Well, I mean, I don't care. It's been like 4 years now.
I mean, you're a veteran at this point. I mean, come on, Mom, cut me some slack here, you know?
I mean, yeah, technically, if you look at all the girls on the indies right now, there's not a lot of them that are past 6 years.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's very few. All the ones that are like past 6 years pretty much are all signed.
Well, let me ask you this question. So you get done with your training. Did you feel by the time training was over, like, yes, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm ready to go? Or was there still, to some degree, a little bit of butterflies, like, oh, this is everything? Now I have to, the training wheels are off. Was there kind of a, oh shit moment, if you will?
During training?
Well, no, after it was over, like.
like when I started wrestling, you mean?
Yeah, after training was over, you had graduated, and then all of a sudden you're ready to start taking bookings. Is there a little bit of apprehensiveness, like, okay, now I got to go out there and I got to do this now?
I technically hid from my first match, meaning like I was supposed to have a debut match sooner than I did, and I was too nervous. I was like, didn't feel like I was ready or anything like that, and like my trainer was like, "Oh, are you available this date? This is probably the day that we're gonna have you debut." And I was like, "I'm on vacation that day. Sorry, you can't do it." And then I texted my boyfriend at the time. I was like, because we were trying to figure out a weekend to do a vacation.
Right.
And I was like, this is the weekend that we're booking it. Do it now. Do it now. So yeah, I was just so nervous because I was just like, I am a perfectionist and I'm a planner. So like when stuff's in wrestling, is everyone knows there's no planning in wrestling.
No.
So I'm a little batty sometimes. But yeah, so it just shocked me because I remember when he told me, I think it was like 2 weeks to the date that he told me. I was just like, because one of the girls had to drop out. So yeah, it was so that was like an oh shit moment, like, oh, I'm actually about to have a match in front of people. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I've never really, like, when it came to training, my oh shit moment was the first bump that I ever took. I was like, oh shit, this hurts. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of it's wrestling. There's a lot of oh shit moments.
Well, you said you're a big planner. So do you
Yeah.
like to plan out your matches like, Macho Man Randy Savage, like you're gonna go here, 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 here? Or do you plan some points and let the crowd, reaction get to you, or how do you like to do that?
So it depends on who I'm having a match with. Because again, how I was saying, like, the experience level in the indies is like it varies right now. Somebody that's been doing it longer, I could have more free will with. Even people like Macho Man, I know he like jotted down. I heard the whole story about him and Ricky Steamboat, and I was like, "Oh, can you imagine that?" Like Macho Man being like
Number
memorizing
87. What is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, that's insane. I'm not that drastic, but I can promise you there's 1,000,001 notes in my phone. So I always get made fun of for that. Which I need to start writing down because I don't trust technology because I'm not good at technology. So this could all go away really quick and I'd be screwed.
You're perfect because we're terrible at technology as well.
There we go. Perfect. But yeah, yeah, I'm pretty anal about being very like plannish, but I do like I'm it's weird. All my life, like going back to like when I was like grammar school and stuff, all my teachers and stuff, they're always like, stop planning. Like you're always better. Like when I was giving speeches or stuff like that, like I would have note cards. They're like, no, forget about the note cards. You're like way better just on the fly. And I was like, but I'm scatterbrained. What do you mean? I was like, I need like direction. So, but yeah, I don't know. It depends, I guess.
For everybody joining us right now, we are live with Missa Kate. So excited to have you on here because it's interesting to be able to pick the brain of the next generation of wrestlers coming through. Things that inspired people to get into wrestling. What was their motive to get into wrestling as well? Knowing people's past track record as far as athletics and whatnot. So you talked about you played sports as well and you had some injuries. What kind of sports did you end up playing before you entered the ring?
A lot of stuff. So, like I was saying, like I didn't know how to get to WWE other than like a WWE tryout and going straight there. So I was like, well, when that day comes, I'm going to be like super prepared, hopefully. So my goal was I'm going to learn like a little bit of everything that I could. I mean, once I was like a wrestling fan, but ever since I was a kid, like my mom was like, the second I started walking, she's like, I needed to get you into sports because you like don't stop moving. So pretty much like I started off with like t-ball for a couple of years. I was just like, I'm over it. She threw me in soccer. Soccer I ended up playing for 17 years in high school. I was a starter on varsity all 4 years. And what else did I do? I did basketball, figure skating, hip hop. I did like 16-inch softball. I said I did gymnastics when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did say that. Okay. Trying to think. I always forget stuff. Like I always forget stuff. But yeah, like I've always been pretty well rounded. I would have played like other sports like volleyball and stuff, but they always would collide with soccer.
Right.
So it would suck. So yeah, otherwise I'd be playing a lot more stuff. But and then I wasn't allowed to join football, my mom said. So
Was that something you would have considered?
oh yeah. No, I wanted to be wide receiver.
Wow.
Or kicker. Yeah.
Wow.
And then my stepdad's like, they're gonna murder you. I'm like, let them try. But yeah.
That's incredible. So I guess this kind of takes us into the next direction. So once you did decide, okay, I'm ready to have that first match. I'm sure the butterflies were still there, very much so. But you took the booking. You said, you know what, I can't delay this anymore. Let's do it. Walk us through the very first match from when you're behind the curtain to when you come out. What is going through your mind?
Everything and nothing at the same time. It's a very interesting feeling. I always say right before the curtain, it's like you could feel like just that spot is just like an anxious spot. The second you walk through the curtain, it's almost like, I know it's like a weird comparison, but like, you know, when you go through a car wash and there's those things that like just wipe away. Yeah, that's
Yep.
what it feels like. All that anxiety kind of goes away when you go through the curtain, at least for me. And then I get in the ring and the bell rings, and then I'm like, oh, where's my back? But yeah, I mean, for my debut match, I had a match against Shotzi Blackheart.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very fortunate. She was nice enough to that same morning come in and train with me a little bit before our match. Just so like, cause she, my trainer's like, yeah, it's her first match. Like she's really nervous and excited and all this stuff. And then, you know, I knew like Shotzi, like I was just learning the indies and I knew that she was like a bigger name. So I was just like, oh God, I was like, please don't make yourself look stupid. So yeah, I was like nervous and stuff, but she was like, I've heard a lot of horror stories of debut matches, and she made sure that didn't happen. Let me put it that way. From the second we went out there to the second we came back, and she had another show to go to, she was like, are you good? Like, is everything okay? Like, you know, she was like worried about me, and I was just like, oh, you're so sweet. Like, just coming back, I don't know. Like, I wasn't upset or anything. It was just kind of like I went out there, I did it, I came back, and I was like, wow, that's what it feels like to be out there. Like, it was a really good, exciting feeling. It's really hard to make me cry. I didn't cry, but I was close. So, yeah, I'm very fortunate. I was telling her too, like, again, I'm weird when it comes to like metaphors and like connections and like universe stuff. But like my favorite color is neon green, clearly. I mean, I'm wearing a Zello shirt too. So I'm OCD here too, planner. Everything has to match. But no, I told her, I was like, it's so funny. I'm like, she has this like bright green hair. I'm like, it's my favorite color. Even before I started training or started wrestling or anything, I came up with a character named Miss Green, and that was kind of it was when I found Mischief. I bounced it off of her, and that's kind of what Shotzi is in a sense. I feel like is a play off of Mischief, but she's still her own person.
Sure.
And I was just like, yeah, I wanted to dye my hair green. I was gonna be rock and roll and all this stuff, all wild, how like Shotzi is. And I was like, oh, this is like crazy that I made this character not knowing who the hell you were, and now you're my debut match. So I was like, maybe I'm like psychic a little bit or something. But no, yeah, I was very, very. I can't say enough nice things about her. I'm so lucky, so lucky.
It's interesting because, you know, I'm also a big believer in everything happens for a reason. I mean, not to get, you know, cliche or anything like that, but when you look at certain things that happen in your life and the way they happen and the timings they happen, you almost have to say to yourself, wait a minute, is this really, you know what I mean? Is this really happening? And
pinch yourself moment.
it's I often use the phrase the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, which it's just like everyone somehow is connected to somebody else who's connected to somebody. I mean, it's whether you go on vacation or whether you go into a restaurant or whether you are Christmas shopping or it doesn't matter what the hell you're doing. There's a connection somewhere to somebody else. And I think you were there for a reason. And that's exciting. Just to ask you this, the match that you decided I'm on vacation, do you know who you would have been wrestling against at that time, or had it not gotten that far?
I don't remember. I knew it was supposed to be the reason why they were going to have me in that match was because one of the girls had to drop out.
Right.
And it was kind of like a last minute thing. And they were going to throw me in there. I don't remember who it was supposed to be, but I didn't care. I was just like, I'm scared. I'm not doing this yet. I'm not ready. But yeah, so I wish I could remember. Yeah, because it was like no offense to anybody who it was. Like it was nothing personal or anything like that. I don't know I don't know. It had to be. It was like there's like 2 shows in between my debut match and that match, I believe. So.
Well, either way, you had a banger of a match with Shotzi Blackheart to start off your career. I mean, that in itself has to feel great for many reasons, because you were in there with somebody you not only got to learn a ton from, but you learned how a veteran takes care of someone as well. Now, you being a veteran, you probably understand what that Missa back then was going through. Does that make sense? You're able to kind of look back and go, I get what Shotzi was doing.
Oh yeah. Even I'll go back every once in a great while because I hate watching myself. I'll watch that match